Selling an inherited house through a cash home buyer. Inheriting a house can be an exciting and overwhelming experience. On the other hand, it's a great asset to have in your possession. However, you may not know how to manage it or if it is even worth keeping. One of the best ways to sell an inherited house is through a cash home buyer. Though others may consider working with a traditional real estate agent, many still prefer cash home buyers for easy and fast selling. This option allows for quick and efficient sales without any hassles that are traditionally associated with traditional real estate transactions. Selling an inherited house through a cash home buyer ensures that you get maximum value for your property while avoiding all the stress involved with finding buyers and dealing with paperwork and legal process. In this article, we will discuss why selling an inherited house through a cash home buyer might be right for you. Advantages of selling an inherited house through cash home buyers. One of the primary advantages of selling an inherited house through a cash home buyer is convenience. This type of sale eliminates the need to find buyers and go through the traditional process of listing, showing, and negotiating with potential buyers. Cash home buyers are usually willing to make an offer quickly and close within days if necessary, so you won't have to wait for months or even years before you can receive your money. Another advantage is that cash home buyers generally don't require any repairs or renovations be made before closing, which can save time and money. Inherited houses often come with added maintenance costs such as taxes, utilities, repairs, and more that cash home buyers are willing to take on themselves without needing the seller to pay for them. Finally, one of the best advantages of selling an inherited house to a cash home buyer is that you don't have to worry about closing costs and real estate commissions, which can be costly in a traditional sale. Cash home buyers are usually willing to cover their own fees and costs associated with their services, which leaves more money in your pocket at the end of the transaction. The convenience, lack of extra cost, and ease of use makes an attractive option for those who want to get maximum value for their inherited property without going through the stress involved with finding buyers and dealing with paperwork. Can I sell an inherited house that came with a mortgage? Yes. It is possible to sell an inherited property that came with a mortgage. Selling an inherited house with a mortgage comes with some unique challenges and considerations that must be taken into account. For example, if the inherited house has equity, the estate may need to pay off any remaining mortgage balance before the inherited house can be sold. In some cases, this could require liquidating assets or obtaining financing in order to cover costs of paying off the mortgage. It's important to consider any tax implications associated with selling an inherited house that comes with a mortgage. Depending on your situation, you may need to pay capital gains taxes or any profits earned from selling the inherited house. Additionally, there may be other costs associated with transferring the title or insurance fees associated with the inherited house sale. Finally, it's important to ensure you choose a cash home buyer who is experienced in dealing with inherited houses that come with mortgages. A good cash home buyer should understand all the complexities associated with inherited houses and be able to provide you with options for how best to sell your inherited house quickly and for maximum value. Can you sell your share of an inherited property? Yes. It is possible to sell your share of an inherited property in certain circumstances. If you are the only heir and have inherited a property, you have the legal right to sell your inherited property. However, if there are multiple heirs, each owner will need to agree on the sale for it to be successful. If all owners cannot agree on a sale, then the inherited property may need to be divided and sold separately. When selling a share of inherited property, it is important to consider any property taxes and mortgage payments that may be associated with it, depending on the inherited property was purchased with cash or on loan. Each co-owner should take into account any remaining debt before agreeing upon the sale of their inherited property share. If a portion of the inherited property has been paid off with proceeds from life insurance or other assets, then this could affect how much money is available when selling inherited property between multiple owners, in some cases where one owner wants to keep inherited property. While other wishes to sell their share, they can do so by entering into a partition agreement via a lawyer. This agreement allows for one owner to buy out the other share at a fair market price. It also takes into account any debts associated with inherited property such as mortgage payments and other expenses related to its upkeep and maintenance over time. Finally, if you decide that you want to keep your inherited property, then it is important that you understand all of the financial obligations associated with its ownership, such as taxes and upkeep costs, which must be taken into account annually in order to keep the inherited property in good standing legally and financially. Conclusion: selling an inherited home can be a complex process, especially when it comes to dealing with mortgages and taxes. It's important to consider all the financial implications of selling inherited property before making any decisions. If you decide to go ahead with the sale, make sure you choose a cash-home buyer who is experienced in working with inherited houses that come with mortgages. We'll also take into account any property taxes, estate tax, inheritance tax, capital gains tax, federal estate tax, or debt obligations associated with inherited properties. That is why when selling an inherited house to a cash-home buyer, we highly recommend the Eagle Cash Buyers. They will help ensure that you get fair market value from your